If you're into making videos, you've probably heard people talking about Apolog 2, ProRes RAW, and OpenGate on the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, and you've thought, is this actually as big a deal as people are making it sound? In the right hands, these are super powerful pro video features, but for a lot of people, they can mean unnecessary steps, bigger files, and a whole lot more work for not much extra payoff. So here's what we're gonna do. I'll walk you through what these tools actually are, the pros and cons, how to use them, and who should be using them. And because this video is sponsored by friends of the channel over at Freewell, we'll be using some of their iPhone filmmaking tools throughout the video that will help us a lot. By the end, you'll know whether the pro video features on the iPhone are worth your time and how to use them. So, secure the cup, and let's get into it. First and foremost, let's talk about what these new tools actually are, starting with Apolog 2. When you shoot regular video on your iPhone, the phone is doing a ton of work behind the scenes. It decides the contrast, the color, the sharpness, and it bakes that look into the file so that it looks normal. The trade-off is that the phone is also deciding what to keep and what to throw away. Your camera actually sees a whole bunch more information in the scene, but it has to cram all of that into a limited container. So when the bright parts are too bright or the dark parts are too dark and the camera can't fit all of that into the container the way that it wants to, then you get clipping. And they kind of look like either a blob of white, black, or sometimes if you're clipping colors, it can just be weird looking blobs of color. Log profiles, or in this case Apolog 2, are basically a way to try and squish more of that information into the same container so that we don't get clipping as quickly. The problem is that once you take all of that information and squish it in, it looks flat and desaturated to start with, so you have to decide how you want to stretch it back out to make it look a bit more normal again. The main difference here is that you get to choose how far it gets stretched back out, so you can keep more of those details, or you can choose where it actually makes sense to let things clip. Now, Apolog isn't new, but Apolog 2 is just the second version of a log profile that they've put out now. So the upside of log is that you usually get more detail to work with than a regular baked-in profile, and you have more control over the final look. And the downside is that it still has to live inside that same video container, and it's already been processed a bit in camera, so you don't have as much freedom as you do with a true raw video file. So if log is trying to squish a lot of info in a smaller container, then raw, or in this case ProRes RAW, is doing the opposite by trying to expand the container to fit more of the information. ProRes RAW is grabbing all the data straight from the sensor before the camera has fully decided things like white balance and contrast, and it basically stores all of that. This means that you have a lot more control to tweak and fix and edit the colors and exposure after the fact. And the main limit here is just what the camera was actually able to capture in the first place. When you first bring the files into your edit, the raw image will look almost exactly like the log image because it's using those log profiles and translating it that way for us to see. But under the hood, they are not the same thing. So the upside of RAW is maximum flexibility and quality when you're grading, and the downside is that you have super huge file sizes that you have to manage, and again, you have to process the image just like log. And then we have OpenGate recording. In most regular video modes, the phone is only using a 16:9 slice of the sensor, which is probably the most common video aspect ratio. With OpenGate, however, it uses the full sensor area, so you get a taller image that you can crop into later. In practice, that means that you can reframe for different aspect ratios like horizontal and vertical from the same clip, which is super handy if you want to make a YouTube version and a vertical version for shorts or reels or TikTok from one recording. It's also really handy for shooting anamorphic video, which we'll talk about a bit later. So the upside of OpenGate is that it gives you way more flexibility for reframing and different aspect ratios in the edit, and the downside is that, again, you have to spend a bit more time cropping and framing things the way that you want afterwards, or desqueezing your anamorphic video. So now that we know what Apolog, OpenGate, and ProRes RAW actually are, let's talk about how to make them work in real life. Let's start with Apolog 2 and how to actually shoot with it. I don't really recommend using the default camera app for this workflow workflow. As soon as we turn on log in the default camera app, it forces you into ProRes, and we don't get any control over the different ProRes options. We miss out on a lot of tools that might make log easier. My favorite way to do this is using the Blackmagic camera app. It's free and it gives us a lot more control. So in Blackmagic, we're gonna go to settings, then record, and under codec, we're gonna choose which codec we want to record in first. So this could be one of the ProRes options like ProRes Lite, ProRes HQ, whatever you want, or we could go with smaller ones like the H.265 if we want smaller file sizes, but we can still use Apple Log unlike the default camera app. And then if we go back in that same record menu, we tap color space and we choose Apple Log 2. When we head back to the camera view, we'll see the image got super flat and desaturated, which is exactly what we were expecting from log. Now, when we're shooting log, it's usually recommended to expose a little bit brighter than we think we'll need. That'll give us better quality once we convert it back to a normal looking image. To help with that, we can use zebras. I personally like to set them to 80%, which is where Apple Log 2 starts to clip. So if we see any zebras in our image, we know that we're clipping and we might want to pull back. Now, with all that on, we can dial in our shutter angle to 180 degrees for natural motion blur. We can set the ISO as low as we comfortably can. And then I highly recommend using ND filters for fine-tuning exposure, especially because we don't have control of aperture on the iPhone, and especially if we're outside where it's super bright. I'm using the Freewell VND that magnetically attaches to their iPhone 17 Pro Max case. So once I've got my shutter and ISO where I want them, I can just dial in the variable neutral density filter until the exposure looks right and I'm not blowing out anything or clipping anything that I don't want to. The other thing that I recommend when we're shooting log is to use a monitoring LUT. Because log is always going to look super flat on screen, we can tap the LUT button in the app and choose something like a Rec. 709 neutral look, so we get a preview of what it might look like in the end. Just remember, we're still recording in log, we're just viewing it in the normal Rec. 709 image so that we can judge our exposure and our overall vibe more easily. Next, let's set up OpenGate. So in the Blackmagic camera app, we go back to settings, then record. Under resolution, we choose the OpenGate option, which records that full 4:3 sensor instead of a 16:9 version. When we come back to the camera view, we'll notice that the frame looks taller. If we want, we can use guides to estimate where our horizontal or vertical frame will sit later, even though we're technically still recording in the full 4:3. We can basically treat it like we're shooting one way, either horizontal or vertical, but then it'll be way easier to cut the other way later with all that extra frame to work with. Like I said before, OpenGate also works really well with anamorphic lenses, again because of that extra vertical space. So I've got the Freewell anamorphic lens on that same iPhone 17 Pro Max case here, and when we look at the frame, we're now squeezing a whole bunch of extra info from both sides that we weren't seeing before. So it's super squished and looks really weird, like a strange mirror. So what we want to do is go back into settings and then camera, and then choose correct anamorphic desqueeze so that the live view looks normal instead of squeezed. In this case, we have a lens that's a 1.55 times squeeze, so we are going to choose that option. And now we've got that classic widescreen anamorphic look with those horizontal lens flares on the lights. And one of the cool things that you can do with this anamorphic lens is that if you want to change the character of those flares, you can swap out the streak filter inserts for either gold, blue, or neutral options. And here's what it looks like if you shoot anamorphic without OpenGate. You can see just how much information we lose on the top and bottom and how super wide that aspect ratio ends up being, which is absolutely totally fine if that's what you wanted in the end, but it's super nice to have the option of OpenGate. Now, finally for this section, let's talk about ProRes RAW. In the Blackmagic camera app, we go to settings, then record, and under codec, we'll see two different versions of ProRes RAW at the top. We've got the normal one and the high quality one. Beneath those options, it says requires external storage. This is because, like we mentioned before, RAW video takes up a lot more space in terms of the file sizes. So I've got a 4TB SSD in the Freewell Pro SSD hub, which we can use with their Bluetooth grip or just MagSafe straight onto the back of the phone. Once we attach the drive, we have to set the record destination to the external SSD instead of the internal storage. Now we should see our available record time jump way up from just a few minutes on the phone to hours, depending on the capacity of the SSD. Then everything works just like shooting log again, because we're still shooting in Apolog 2, we're just making the container way bigger. And the nice thing about using external storage like this as well is that once we're done, we can plug the SSD straight into the computer and get to editing instead of having to wait for huge transfers off the phone. Now, just so that it's said, all of these tools can be used either together or separately, with the exception of the fact that you have to shoot log if we're in RAW. I know I'm moving super quickly, so I just want to make sure that that was said before I move on. So now I'll show you what we need to do in post-production to sort out all of these different tools. Now, I am going to skip over some DaVinci Resolve basics because that's a whole other topic for another video. So I'm going to assume you know how to make a new project and make a new timeline, that kind of stuff. And we're going to get right into Apolog 2. So once our Apolog 2 clips are on the timeline, we can do a really simple grading setup on the color page. So we go over to the color page and we add 3 nodes in a row using Option S or Alt S on a PC. On node 1, we're going to add a color space transform effect. We're going to choose the input color space of Apolog 2, and the input gamma, we're going to choose Apolog. Then on the output color space, we're going to choose DaVinci Wide Gamut, and on the output gamma, we're going to choose DaVinci Intermediate. Then we're going to go over to node 3. We're going to skip over 2 for now. We're going to go to node 3 and we're going to add another color space transform. This time the input is going to be from DaVinci Wide Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate, and the output color space is going to be Rec 709, and the output gamma is going to be Gamma 2.4. So what we've done is we've taken Apolog, which is a big color space, and we put it in an even bigger color space in the middle, and that's where we're going to do all of our work so that we have full control. And then at the end, we're putting it down to a normal looking color space of Rec 709. So that means that node 2 and any other nodes that we add in the middle, that's where we're doing all of our work. So we can balance exposure, we can tweak contrast, fix white balance, and any of the creative look that we want to do, we can do that in DaVinci Wide Gamut in that huge color space. Now, technically, we could just use one color space transform and go straight from Apolog 2 to Rec 709, but using DaVinci Wide Gamut as our main kind of color grading middle ground, it gives us a lot of control and more room to push the image around, and it's nice if we're matching cameras as well, because we can put them all into a common color space. So I highly recommend going this way. It doesn't complicate the process that much, so that's why I teach it, even if I'm talking to beginners. Moving on, let's talk about how we can actually use OpenGate footage in our edits. So first, we're going to drop one of our OpenGate clips into the media pool and create a new timeline. This could be a standard 16:9 timeline or a vertical 9:16 timeline if we're cutting for shorts or reels. Then in the timeline settings under mismatch resolution, we're going to set it to scale full frame with crop. This tells Resolve to fill the frame and crop the extra instead of shrinking the OpenGate image to fit. On a horizontal timeline, we can then use the transform controls to move the taller OpenGate frame either up or down to where we want it in the composition. And on a vertical timeline, we can then move the frame left and right to choose which part of the OpenGate image we want to show. Now, if we forget to change that timeline setting, or we don't want it to apply to the whole timeline, we can actually do it on a per clip basis. So with the clip selected, we go to the inspector, open the retime and scaling section, and set scaling to fill, so it crops properly instead of just shrinking it to fit. Now, for those anamorphic clips that we got while we were shooting OpenGate, the main thing that we need to do is desqueeze the image. In the media pool, we find one of our anamorphic OpenGate clips, we right-click it, and we choose Clip Attributes. In the Clip Attributes window under Pixel Aspect Ratio, we set it to 1.55x, or whatever matches the squeeze factor of the lens that we used. The nice thing is that the Blackmagic camera app actually tags this in the metadata of some codecs. So if we recorded the ProRes RAW like we did earlier, Resolve should already be reading that and showing the clip desqueezed correctly in the timeline. So finally for this section, let's take a quick look at what's different when we're working with ProRes RAW in Resolve. Now this is something that's new. For a long time, Resolve didn't support ProRes RAW, and so I'm really excited that we actually have this control now. So once our ProRes ProRes RAW clips are on the timeline, we go to the color page and select one of those clips, and on the left-hand side, we open up the Camera Raw panel. By default, it'll be set to decode using camera metadata, but what we want to do is change that to decode using clip. As soon as we do that, we get proper RAW controls for that shot. We can change things like the ISO or the white balance with almost the same accuracy as if we'd set them that way in the camera. So if a clip is a bit too warm or we want to nudge the exposure up or down, we can do that here in the RAW settings before our nodes and our color space transforms do their work. From there, we can use exactly the same node structure as we set up for Apolog 2 because again, we are shooting in Apolog 2. So the big difference with ProRes RAW is that we've got that extra layer of control on the RAW stage for ISO and white balance, and we've got so much more data to work with that we can push it around a lot. But everything as far as the actual workflow is pretty similar to the way that we did our log footage. So who is this all actually for? If you're already bringing your footage into a computer to edit and you care about how your videos look and you want that extra control, this workflow starts to make a lot more sense. If you're filming things like travel videos, short films, client work, or anything where the image quality really matters, that extra control over the highlights, shadows, color, and the frame size is a big win. If you often end up in high dynamic, tricky lighting scenes with bright skies and dark subjects, Apolog 2 and that Resolve workflow can really help you keep more usable detail. If you're doing things where you're posting the same project to YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, OpenGate is also really helpful. Personally, I also love Apolog 2 if you want your iPhone footage to sit next to your mirrorless or cinema camera footage. Because it's log, it fits into the same grading pipeline, and it's way easier to match than the default baked-in look from the iPhone. And if you like to push your grades a bit further and you want that extra safety net for exposure and white balance, ProRes RAW to an SSD is kind of the power user option on top. You also have to be honest with yourself about that time and effort that goes into the post-processing of all this. If you enjoy the editing and color side of things, and you like the idea of treating your phone more like a little cinema camera, then these tools are probably worth the extra steps for you. On the flip side of that, there are definitely people who shouldn't bother with any of this. If you mostly shoot quick clips for Instagram stories, TikTok Reels, and you edit on your phone, the default look is probably the move. It's fast, it looks pretty good out of the box, and you don't have to think about any of this log or raw or cropping stuff. If you don't enjoy editing or color grading, the idea of setting up nodes in Resolve sounds like a chore, this workflow will just slow you down. If storage is already a struggle for you, jumping into ProRes or ProRes RAW is going to make that worse really quickly. Bigger files, more drives, backup stress, all of that kind of stuff, it's just not for you. And I'll be honest, I am 100% guilty of overkill sometimes. There have been plenty of moments where I've rigged up the phone, turned on Apolog 2, ProRes, the whole deal, and halfway through I'm thinking, I probably should have just shot this with the default camera app and called it a day. In those moments, the extra control really wasn't buying me anything. The story or the moment would have been exactly the same, and I've just made more work for myself in the name of doing it properly. So, where do you stand on all this? Are you all in on Apolog 2, OpenGate, maybe even ProRes RAW and the full tiny cinema camera setup? Are you sticking with the default camera app because it's fast, it looks pretty good, and you actually get more videos made? Or are you somewhere in the middle zone where you keep the fancy workflow for projects that really matter and client stuff and keep it simple for everything else? Leave a comment down below, and on your way down there, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on future videos. I know this one went by super fast, so if you have questions, leave them down there too, and I'll try my best to help. Huge thank you to Freewell for sponsoring this video and for promoting education like this. Check out their link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.